What's up guys, Nick True here, and today I'm with my good friend Nathan Boler.
And today we're going to be talking about 4 tips to improve your gear purchasing. The first issue we'll discuss today is gas.
Please explain.
Gear acquisition syndrome. So you have this perception that you need a new toy or a new device to make your process better.
This happens to me a lot because I tend to go through phases. So like I'll get really into making videos and all of a sudden I want the next lens or the next camera. With running, Hannah and I both have fallen into that before. Where's this come up like with you in your life? Like what are you into and how's that come up?
For music, it is software, it is hardware, it's anything that you think you can justify an expense to either make money or make the creative process more fun or interesting. The latest would be like Native Instruments Massive X, which I just did a video on my channel. It was software that I just had to have.
All right, so you're running into gas when you're purchasing music equipment or music software. And obviously this is problematic because if you run into this over and over and over again, you're going to bust your budget. You're not gonna have any money. Like you're gonna go into debt for these kinds of things. So how do you actually stop doing it? How are you avoiding it?
It's a good question. So the first tip I would say is you have to have some self-discipline for this, but if you wait 24 hours or 1 week before purchasing and you leave the idea alone and you still come back to it and you still want it, it might be worth pursuing. I know you are even more extreme about some purchases.
Super extreme.
You just bought a backpack.
If you've watched any of my other videos, y'all have already seen this backpack because I talk about it a lot, but I waited 6 months between finding it on Instagram, seeing an ad for it, and then actually, I actually went in person because I knew I was going to be in San Francisco at their shop. And I went and looked at it, and then I walked out of the store and was like, no, I can't buy it today. I want the waiting game because I want to make sure it's the thing that I, truly want to spend my money on. But you're more of a 24-hour to 1 week kind of guy?
I feel like it's easy to talk yourself in or out of something in 24 hours, okay. But a week is pretty sure for me. So if I drop the idea for a week and I come back to it at the end of the week and I still want it, then I'm probably gonna buy it. Now, the second tip to avoiding gas is to actually filter results and try to come at it from a more objective perspective. So when you bought that backpack, how did you decide what you needed to have?
Yeah, that's a good question. So with that backpack, first off, it's a camera bag primarily because I was looking first and foremost with what am I gonna be putting in the bag. So camera equipment and a laptop. Those
expensive
are
stuff.
Expensive stuff. It needs to be well cushioned. It needs to have good compartments. I need easy access. And then there were a couple little things that were important to me, like a really good wide kind of chest strap and shoulder padded area. So like I'm the nerd who locks the chest strap across. So yeah, with the backpack, those were probably a handful of things that I looked at. Now, one of the underlying reasons that we fall into that gear acquisition syndrome is that we kind of inherently believe that the gear is what makes us good at this thing. And this is kind of the second thing we want to look at. Can you talk to that as far as a musician, how important is the gear to actually helping you perform and do your job?
There's definitely a threshold. So while I'm not playing my $100 Squire electric guitar that I got when I was 12, I am also not buying the most expensive boutique electric guitar on the market. So you want to find a range that works for your expertise and also your budget, of course.
Yeah, and I think we all know that person that gets into something. They're fresh in this hobby or this new venture, but they got deep pockets, and so they're able to roll in with the latest equipment, the greatest this, the greatest that, and ultimately they still kind of suck at what they're doing. Like we don't want to be that person.
You don't want to be that guy. There's also a law of diminishing returns when it comes to gear. While you don't necessarily want the cheapest thing, the most expensive thing isn't necessarily the best quality. And here's your obligatory background change because we're halfway through the video.
So the third thing that I want to talk about is this idea of defaulting to used or new whenever you're purchasing something.
I always default to used whenever possible. So I love sites like eBay, Reverb for music, Craigslist, Auto Trader, etc.
This is one thing that you've always been amazing at. Like when we were kids and we were playing in a band and doing all of our music stuff, you always defaulted to used, and I had a bad habit of defaulting to new. I had this idea in my head, like I'm not gonna get it, it's gonna be halfway broken, I'm gonna somehow get a lesser quality item. But that's actually changed over the past couple of years. Like the camera that we're using to film this video, I bought used off eBay, as long as the mic, the computer I used to edit. I've switched my mindset, which has ultimately saved me tons of money over the years. So if somebody is going like, I still don't know. I don't know that I want to buy something used. How do you go about kind of dispelling the myths around buying used?
Well, one thing I think is funny is people have no problem buying houses used most of the time.
Yeah, that's so true.
So when it comes to purchasing used, just go ahead and get over the stigma of someone using your stuff before you get it. And actually, buying used helps you accomplish tip number 4, which is never go into debt when purchasing gear.
So when you say never, like literally, have you ever gone into debt when you're purchasing like a guitar or whatever equipment you're using?
No.
Okay. But what if I'm gonna use the guitar to like, play a gig this Saturday and then I'm gonna make the money back? So then it's like, okay, can I do that?
How much are you making on the gig?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just theoretically.
How much is the guitar?
A few $100s.
I wouldn't go into debt for it.
Okay.
You need to save your pennies.
Save my pennies working at the Starbucks, doing the thing. Okay. All right. On a serious note, a lot of stores these days, when you're purchasing a guitar or golf clubs or just about anything, they've got a financing option. And you can go into debt for 24 months for 0% APR, only pay a little bit month over month. The problem is, first off, it's just not wise because most of the time you're gonna make a poor decision only looking at the monthly cost rather than the overall cost of the thing. Second, when you forget about it or you get behind or you don't actually pay it off over that whole term, a lot of those terms will retroactively kick in a really high APR after the introductory period. So if you don't get that thing paid off in the 12 or 24 months, then it will say, well, actually your APR is now 17%. Oh, and by the way, it retroactively kicks in for all the months that you previously didn't owe it on.
And I would add to that while we are in the subscription era, you're not paying $15 a month for the rest of your life on that $1,000 guitar. You're purchasing a $1,000 guitar. So you want to save your money and buy the guitar.
And what's really cool about all 4 of these tips is like what you just said with you're buying a $1,000 guitar, so save up and do it then, is that naturally allows you to do the first tip that we talked about, which is not falling into gear acquisition syndrome by waiting. And if you force yourself to wait so that you can save the money, you're automatically doing both of those. So those are 4 tips on how to make decisions around what to purchase, what not to purchase. Nathan, if people want to learn more about you, what you do, where can they find you? Tell them a little bit about yourself.
I make YouTube videos about music and creativity on my channel, Nathan Boler.
There's a link down in the description below, so go there, check him out, show him some love. If you're into music, if you're into making anything online, definitely check him out. Always remember, we can teach you how to do your money when you're making purchases, but we can't make you make wise decisions, okay? The choice is yours. We'll see y'all next time.